Hello, I'm Joe Lewis. Welcome to one of my training centers here in Tampa, Florida. What we're going to be doing in this series is trying to get you a little more involved in how to teach sparring by understanding strategies and tactical principles and how to implement them into not only your own sparring skills, but also how to help your students develop more confidence and also to improve their skills. There are many styles of martial arts. Some do groundwork, for example, yet there are others who do not. Some, like our style, we spend a lot of time in full contact, yet many people don't do full contact. One thing most students are going to want to explore at some time in their development is sparring. We teach 6 different levels of sparring in our system. Much of what we teach is done without headgear or mouthpiece, yet it's still safe. We're going to show you how to do that. We call them interaction defensive sparring drills. And another category is what we call coach sparring drills. Both are safe and both are fun. Now, in a series of lessons, I'm going to introduce you to the real science of sparring and how to best teach it. We're going to be working on creating different types of drills, on strategies, and how to deal specifically with various types of fighters. Not everybody fights the same way. Tall persons is different than fighting somebody short. Somebody's fast is different than somebody who's slow. A good kicker is different than somebody who's a good puncher. First, let's understand what is your craft. And this is about adapting yourself to your opponent. You want to be able to outsmart him and outthink him, figuring out his weaknesses and figuring out his strengths, his favorite mode of attack and his defense. You want to learn his moves, get a sense of his timing down, and of course his style of fighting. That's specifically what we would work on. Different styles of fighting. How to force him out of his style by, for example, frustrating him. Second, we're going to work on what's called ring generalship, or what we can call sparring generalship. Now, hold on to that word. Knowledge of how to deal with different styles of fighting involves knowing how to employ, for example, the best tactical strategy. Now, hold that thought for a second. I'm going to teach you about all the strategies. You cannot spar all the opponents the same way. For example, I mentioned before, you can't spar a taller person the same way you would a shorter person. You wouldn't engage a good puncher, for example, the same way you would a great kicker. Let's start off with sort of a definition to understand what does that word strategy mean. Strategy is the process of using tactical maneuvers designed to take advantage of an opponent's weakness. Strategy is a tactical process designed to effectively engage an opponent in combat under advantageous conditions. It must be both maneuvering skills together with effective offensive and defensive technical skills to control and neutralize an opponent in order to make sure you're always attacking from a position of strength to a position of weakness. Now, these strategies have to be employed and have to be created and put together by using what we call tactical principles. Now, we're going to go through a list of 12 of these that we pull right out of our Joe Lewis Fighting Systems Black Belt Teaching Manual. Let's go down the list of strategic principles. First of all, let's understand what the word means, principle. Principle is a simple rule which helps you to maximize the effectiveness of a technique. Anytime you're taking a tactic to create one of these strategies we're going to be working on, a tactic has to be a combination of a principle, a technique, and some type of movement. Remember those 3 concepts there. All right, principle number 1. All right, how to neutralize your opponent's position. All right, attacking from a position of strength always to a position of weakness. Choosing your territory versus what is his territory. For example, if you're fighting a taller person, you're going to stay on the outside. And of course, you're going to be moving laterally quite a bit against a taller opponent, whereas your territory is going to be on the inside, which will be your pocket. So you got to understand what I mean when I say what is your territory, what is his territory, and who's doing the work and who's not doing the work. Rule number 2, all right, how to prevent an opponent from getting set. That principle kind of permeates all the strategies. Basically what we're talking about there is how to control your opponent's set point. You don't want him to get set. When he's set, he's fired. Opponent is not a threat because he's big, strong, fast, or whatever. an opponent is only threat when he sets. You got to be able to control that person's set point. A third principle here we work on is how to confuse your opponent. For example, broken rhythm. A lot of my tapes and DVDs that I sell, I talk a lot about broken rhythm. That's a quick change in the essence of your movement, the speed of your movement, or the direction in which you're attacking. Get off first. That's another way. A lot of fakes. Anytime you feint to fake somebody, really the only time you really want to work on faking is when you have an opponent in front of you who is a little better than you, or he's kind of even with you, and you got to kind of go to the upper hand. That's when you start introducing fakes, what we call confusing your opponent. Next, how to take your opponent out of his fight plan. Let's say, for example, you're up against somebody that's got a good reverse punch or a good straight right hand, and you want to take him out of his fight plan. So if I circle to his left, or which will be to my right, so I'll be moving counterclockwise, I'm establishing a type of movement that's going to take away his offensive game plan. It's going to sort of handcuff his offense. And I'll keep that jab in his face, or I'll keep that back fist, my lead hand in his face, so he can't take advantage of using that right hand against me. Next rule, 5, how to seize the offensive. Basically, that's sort of self-explanatory. Work on getting off first. Get into the rhythm of the fight. Next principle.